This week on Emerge News Now, we discuss statistics from the COVID Alert app and what those numbers mean for Canadians.
Plus, Transat AT expects to resume flights in mid-June, and an uncertain deal with Air Canada may be in the works.
And we reflect on the one-year anniversary of the pandemic, taking a look at the influence that COVID-19 has had on Guelph-Humber. It all starts right now on Emerge News Now.
This is Emerge News Now. With Kristen Wong, Matthew Chong, and Reese Martinez with sports.
Ontario's new pilot program will have 325 pharmacies offer COVID-19 vaccination appointments in Kingston, Frontenac, Lennox, and Addington, Toronto, and Windsor-Essex County. Premier Doug Ford announced on March 10th that Costco, Loblaws, Rexall, and Shoppers Drug Mart are some pharmacy chains participating in the rollout of the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine. On March 9th, Ontario Health Minister Christian Elliott said that Ontario received 194,000 doses of the AstraZeneca vaccine that will expire on April 2nd. The National Advisory Committee on Immunization said that the AstraZeneca vaccine is not recommended for people aged 65 and older due to data that is insufficient to determine the efficacy of the AstraZeneca vaccine in individuals over 65 years of age. The NACI has advised that the AstraZeneca vaccines should be made available to those aged 60 to 64, despite that age group not being prioritized in Phase 1 of Ontario's vaccination program. Now, to see the full list of participating pharmacies, go to the link down below.
The province said it will give Indigenous communities and municipalities $225 million to address the increase of COVID-19 outbreaks in homeless shelters across Ontario. The government said that the funding can be used towards motel and hotel spaces for physical distancing, to hire more staff at shelters, buy cleaning supplies and personal protective equipment, as well as for rent and utility banks to prevent people from becoming homeless. Municipal Affairs Minister Steve Clark said in a statement that the province needed to take action with the increase of shelter outbreaks. Clark said in a statement, quote, "This investment will provide our municipal service managers with the financial ability to take any means necessary to stop the spread of COVID-19 in shelter spaces."
The Canadian COVID-19 Alert app has been downloaded by more than 6 million phones across Canada since launching last August. The thing is, that's only 27% of phones in Canada capable of using the app. Natalie Mohammed, a communications representative for Health Canada, said, quote, "We consider this a good number given that published research has found exposure notification apps are effective at a 15% uptake. Users of the app who test positive for COVID-19 may receive a one-time key from their health authority to enter into the app. After the key is entered, the app will notify users who were in close contact with that user for more than 15 minutes in the past 2 weeks. Chief Public Health Officer Dr. Heather Morrison said that as of March 3rd, over 20,600 keys were given out by health authorities across Canada. And beginning this spring, Canadians will be able to see statistics of the number of downloads and active users in each province or territory, the number of sent exposure notifications, the number of users that enter one-time keys, and technical performance to ensure the app works correctly.
Public Safety Minister Bill Blair is facing questions over the lack of security at the federal hotel quarantine program after reports of 2 alleged incidents of sexual assault. Blair said that the quarantine measures in place have been effective and that any allegations should be thoroughly investigated during a parliamentary committee hearing on March 10th. According to CP24, the minister said, quote, "Where there's an allegation, that has to be thoroughly investigated. Police have arrested 2 men accused of sexual assault related to quarantine measures. One person was arrested in Montreal, the other in Oakville, Ontario."
The City of Edmonton has announced that it will create a committee to support Indigenous workers and businesses. According to Global News Edmonton, one of the city's top priorities is creating an Indigenous Procurement Advisory Committee that will help build a strong relationship with Indigenous communities. In order to better understand the needs and barriers that Indigenous individuals and businesses are facing, the group will meet throughout the year. In a statement to Global Edmonton, Inuk Cree Nation Chief Operations Officer Ron Mink said, quote, "We just want to overcome the perceptions and systemic racism, the problems that we've endured for a long time." Edmonton is home to the second largest urban Indigenous population in Canada.
Transat AT announced that it expects to resume flights in mid-June, following the federal government's request in January to stop travel to Mexico and the Caribbean due to the pandemic. In a statement to Global News, Transat Chief Executive John Mark Estache said that flights will begin once, quote, European volume picks up for the summer. According to Global News, the Montreal-based company is currently working to secure financing in case the deal with Air Canada is cancelled. The deal is currently up in the air as it still requires approval from the European Union. The company may need assistance from a federal loan program for large businesses if the deal fails. Transat's first quarter revenue totaled $41.9 million, down significantly from $692.8 million a year ago before the pandemic crumbled the travel and tourism industry.
The popular video streaming platform Disney Plus has restricted several classic children's movies on their service due to racial stereotypes. Disney classic films such as Dumbo, Peter Pan, and The Jungle Book are some of the films that the service has restricted. The Walt Disney Company previously issued content warnings on certain films for, quote, negative depictions and or mistreatment of people and cultures in October, but has fully restricted these films to account users under the age of 7. Instead of removing the content entirely, Disney says that these films are a learning platform to help spark conversation and open dialogue on history that affects us all. Disney also mentions that these films acknowledge forgotten communities and are pieces to give voices to their stories as well. Adults can still view the movies on their Disney Plus accounts with content warnings. For more information on the list of restricted children's movies on Disney Plus, you can visit Disney's Stories Matter section at thewaltdisneycompany.com.
Nearly 1 year after COVID-19 canceled a number of live musical performances worldwide, the 63rd annual Grammy Awards in Los Angeles was hosted in person on Sunday. After initial postponements on January 31st due to COVID-19 concerns in California, the Grammy Awards was successfully held as a partial in-person event with limited attendance. The Daily Show host Trevor Noah hosted the event and introduced a number of live performances, including Taylor Swift, Billie Eilish, Cardi B, and BTS. While the Grammys did not feature any live Canadian performances, Canada was well represented in the awards categories. Of the 83 categories available, 23 had at least one Canadian contender. Stratford-born singer Justin Bieber was amongst one of the Canadian winners, winning the Best Country Duo/Group Performance Award with Dan and Shay for their hit 10,000 Hours, while Montreal-based artist Patronada won 2 awards for Best Dance/Electronic Album and for Best Dance Recording.
A women and children's shelter called the Women's Habitat of Etobicoke is launching a 10-week online program in April. The program, called Real Men, is aimed at males between the ages of 14 and 18. According to Toronto.com, the program aims to create a conversation about gender and social norms that contribute to gender-based violence and focuses on building healthy masculinity and relationships. The program will also promote a safe space for youth to build a brotherhood, share their perspectives on manhood, build confidence, and support the development of critical analysis. According to a Facebook post, it will be the first program in the organization's history aimed at supporting and connecting male youth.
Here is Reese Martinez with sports.
Thanks, Kristen. For this week, we're going to be doing something special. Instead of featuring one athlete of the week, we're going to be honoring 2. For the first athlete of the week, we spoke with the talented volleyball player Jake Gomes from Humber College. Here's Thomas Karageorgis with the story.
Jake Gomes is a fourth-year sports management student at Humber College and is also a member of the Humber Hawks men's volleyball team. When the COVID-19 pandemic started, Jake continued to take advantage of the open gyms. Since then, his routine has shifted to focus on rehabilitation for his knee after receiving surgery.
Definitely at the beginning of COVID, like when the gyms were still open, that was a little bit of a different story. I had that. I was going going to the gym about like 2 times a week, and then also HPC at Humber 1 time a week. So I was about going like 3 times a week. Had like a pretty good workout routine. But then now I just recently had surgery done on my knee. I had a meniscus tear this year. So now I'm in therapy 2 times a week, working at Humber with Mel in therapy to strengthen my knee back and get that to where it was. So I'm doing a workout there 2 times a week and then one at home. So there's kind of what I'm doing now to stay fit, but it's more now of focusing on my knee and getting that back to where it is before, like full body stuff. My coach and I have a really good bond, and even on like Instagram, he'll send me like setter videos still to this day, and be like even if it's like a training, be like, try this at home, see if you can do this. Or if it's like a gameplay, if he sends me a video of like a team playing and like a setter did something, then just me like mentally taking notes down. And we do have like a team workouts twice a week still. So our team, we have a few different group chats that we all chat on, coaches included in it. So my coach is very positive, sends us like daily quotes every day, and he tries to talk to us every day once he's free, and just encourages us to keep on going with school. So they're all doing a good job to keep us intact for sure. My team is great bunch from 1 to 16. Great group of guys. Love playing with them. Like, smile on my face every time I walk in the gym, going to practice, going to the games. It's just a fun time, like whoever you're with. About playing, honestly, like just like the glory and like the cheer and like the fun that we have on the court. And it was just being able to win and have fun with the boys, and like just keep that same energy going all year, and not like being able to lose that what we had, and kind of the fight. And we all had that same goal, obviously, towards the end. That's kind of what I missed. Definitely like the team bonding, all the memories we had, like traveling. We went to Amsterdam, the Heineken brewery. We had like a lot of, wow, there's just so many. Winning the Ontario championships, that was a huge memory for us. They change, right? Because you do them with different guys, and it's a different team each year. So our memories are kind of like not one and done, but kind of one and done.
Thomas Karageorgis, ENN, Toronto.
Thanks, Thomas. For the second athlete of the week, we head west to the University of Guelph to speak with Emily Power, a skilled player on the Guelph Griffins lacrosse team. Here's Thomas again with the story.
Emily Power is a third-year biological sciences student at the University of Guelph and is also a member of the Guelph Griffins women's lacrosse team. Throughout the season, Emily and her team would practice 2 hours per day from Monday to Friday and would play 2 games every weekend. Currently, Emily has been making fitness plans to get back on track for the end of the semester.
Right now, we don't have anything. At the start of first semester, we were actually able to practice as a team up until probably the end of, honestly, maybe into November. I'm not sure exactly when we had to stop practicing, but I have been in contact with my coach Sam, and we are getting a program towards more of the end of the semester and for the summer, just to keep up with our fitness, with hopes that next fall we'll be playing again. Definitely just being able to take a break from everything and just like going to the field every day and just hanging out with all the girls on the team. It's super enjoyable. And also, like, a lot of my time spent off the field, I also spend with the girls on the team. So not being able to see them as much as I'm used to, just, it's hard, but we make it work. I think, like, looking back, like, I mean, you complain when you have those 6 a.m. Days at the field, especially when you're getting later into the season and like it's snowing and it's freezing cold and you got to wake up at 6 a.m. Or like if everyone's hanging out late at night and you can't hang out with people because you got to wake up. But like looking back, I wish we were still having the 6 a.m. practices in order to be able to play. Like, I'd rather take every practice be a 6 a.m. and play rather than not being able to practice and not being able to play. So just like appreciating being able to play, I think, first of all, and then honestly everything, like just all the memories with the team. Like we've had so much fun hanging out together, like whether it's at practice or outside of practice during our games, at OUAs. Like I just really hope that next year we can play, because it could be my last year, and it would really suck to only get 2 years out of it, seeing that it's one of my favorite experiences at university so far. So I really hope that I get to play again and just make more memories with the team.
Thomas Karageorgis, ENN, Toronto.
On March 11th, 2020, the WHO officially declared coronavirus a global pandemic, and nothing has been the same. In the past year, the nation has experienced heartache and devastation, but looks forward with hope. This week, we reflect on the 1-year anniversary of the pandemic, taking a look at how COVID-19 has had an impact on the Guelph-Humber community. Over the past week, we spoke to students and faculty members about their experience learning and working online. Here's what Kathy Elliott, the Media Studies program head, said about the past year.
What I would say is we have learned a lot in the last year. One thing about media studies is we have continued to do some of our labs, hands-on labs, in person on campus. It was a lot of work to set those up, and believe me, I know that's not an ideal learning situation, but we did offer a sort of hybrid learning environment to students from media studies. I'm really pleased and proud of our team for how we pulled that off. I think that we managed to teach some difficult concepts in spite of the pandemic. And what I would say to students coming in is we have learned a lot, and it's only going to get better. So looking ahead to September, we may or may not be back on campus 100%. I would say the chances are not likely that we will be. However, we will be delivering as much as we can in person, and we have learned how to maximize the learning experience. To students who are graduating and feel that they may have missed out on some aspects of learning. So what I would say is I completely understand that fear. However, looking on the bright side, I think that our students have also learned new ways of learning and working that will be valuable going into the workplace that last year's students will not have learned. So in a way, I think that they're in a much better position this year than our students from last year, excuse me, who graduated into a world where there was a lot that was remote. A lot of job hunting and job performance was remote. They didn't have a chance to learn that. So this crop of students has learned that. The other thing I would say is that the thing about media is the technology, the tools, the techniques are changing so rapidly all the time, and they always have. And one of the things that we've tried to teach our students is that ability to adapt and to learn in an ongoing and continuous way. So I think that our students are well positioned to go out and pick up anything that they've missed, to learn that as they go and on the job, because they always have. They've always had to adapt. Media people have always had to adapt to new technologies and new media, and they'll continue to do that. I'm really looking forward to see how we are going to transition some of those relatively new projects to online and to virtual participation. We kind of started this last year when we all went remote in March, but we were just starting to figure out what we were doing. So it was fairly rudimentary. Now I'm really looking forward to seeing what we've learned and accomplished in the last year.
Electives program head Matthew Legrone also shared his thoughts to ENN about how the past year has been for him.
Online learning shouldn't be the same even like best practices when you're designing distance education courses, or even, blended learning where there's, which you guys had a bit in media, where you have the labs on campus and then sort of the learning off site, right? But you're sort of forced into that. That was not by conscious choice, right? The online experience shouldn't mimic the classroom, right? It should actually be quite different. Now, the question is, how do you engage in that format? When we design distance education courses, we have 6 months to a year to do one class, right? That's a whole lot of time to devote to, we have an instructional designer, we have a faculty member who's working closely with them, right? It's all very deliberate, conscious choices. Here, the different models of learning, students handled it very well, but it was really stressful, and remains so. So, I think I take the complaints as, very, very just. Students who I've taught before in face-to-face classes, some of them have really struggled with online, and some who I've taught face-to-face have really thrived online. The variety of experiences has been dramatic, right? Being able to go to your class when, and be in your pajamas, sometimes that's a plus. It breaks my heart. For many students, it's been a real transformative experience, and we've tried to make it very accessible, tried to make it, affordable. We've tried to, we've create scholarships, both, academic scholarships and need-based scholarships for this. It's one of the things we want to be known for, is that, if you want to come and do it, if you want to do a study abroad, and you don't want to, or you don't have, like very few people have the resources to go spend an entire semester abroad somewhere, it is a great short-term opportunity to get academic credit, but also to get like an experience, perhaps of a place you'd never go to. I took students the last time I went on study abroad, so obviously it wasn't this last summer, but with the previous one, we went to Finland and Estonia, and like that's usually not like, if you have like itineraries of like top 10 places, Paris, Rome, places like that, and they're great. But I'm interested in exploring some really interesting but out of the way places, and so are a lot of other faculty and staff who run study abroads here. So this is going to be 2 summers in a row where study abroad is not going to be run, and that's if you're only here for 4 years, that's 2 of 4 opportunities that are gone, and and obviously, like, even legally, there's nothing we could do, but like we couldn't actually get on a plane and go anywhere. So
Mohit Devisar, a first-year business student, said that, quote, school is much easier to manage time-wise when it's online. It's easier to wake up to attend a class online versus waking up and getting on the bus. Devisar added that even though he communicates with his classmates on social media, he does miss the in-person social interaction. RCL Joy Pokis, a fourth-year media studies student, said that as time passed, she stopped following her schedule and lost motivation to do schoolwork. Pokis said, quote, as much as online classes sounded great from an outside perspective, it was a huge transition for me. I was used to seeing my friends and professors on campus. However, Pokis said she learned how to balance her personal life with her school life and also found a new way to be organized and motivated.
It's the bottom of the hour, time for the top of the news. First on the list, Public Safety Minister Bill Blair is facing questions over a shortage of security with the federal hotel quarantine program. Now, those allegations come after 2 men were arrested of sexual assault-related incidents in Montreal and Oakville, Ontario. Now, in a parliamentary committee hearing last week, Blair said that the existing quarantine measures have been effective and that any allegations should be thoroughly investigated.
Plus, streaming platform Disney Plus has restricted several classic children's movies on their service due to negative stereotypes. Films such as Dumbo, Peter Pan, and The Jungle Book are some of the films that the service has restricted to account users aged 7 and under. Instead of removing the content entirely from the service, Disney mentions that these films acknowledge forgotten communities and voices to their stories throughout history.
And finally, an Etobicoke women's shelter is spearheading an online program aimed at teaching young men about gender-based violence. The program, called Real Men, is hosted by the Women's Habitat of Etobicoke and will run for 10 weeks. The program will also provide a safe space for young males to build a brotherhood, as well as help them build a healthy masculinity and relationships. And I'm Matthew Chong.
And I'm Kristen Wong. Be sure to follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Emerge News Now.
And I'm Reese Martinez. We'll see you next week.